It was a tranquil evening in Riverside, California. Just another night in a serene neighborhood. Justin Hilbert kissed his son goodnight, bid farewell to his partner Tanya, and stepped outside. But lurking in the shadows was a sinister plan, one that would extinguish his life in an instant. As the hours ticked by without any sign of Justin, Tanya's initial concern morphed into dread. The only indication of his whereabouts was a chilling message sent from his phone. 2 haunting words. It's over. Tanya Rep was born in the mid-1980s in California, raised in a stable, industrious household. From a young age, she exhibited independence, responsibility, and a fierce ambition to forge her own path. She pursued a career in logistics, earning a reputation for her organizational prowess and steadfast reliability. Her professional life was marked by a deep commitment, and it was evident that a bright future lay ahead. In the 2000s, Tanya crossed paths with Jared Bischoff, a former U.S. Marine. Jared appeared to be the perfect partner, mature, dependable, and strong. Their relationship progressed rapidly, culminating in marriage. Initially, everything seemed promising, but soon cracks began to surface. Tensions escalated, and power struggles became commonplace. Jared's behavior grew increasingly controlling and aggressive, with jealousy and emotional manipulation taking a toll on Tanya. Eventually, his aggression turned physical, but Tanya refused to accept such treatment. Determined to reclaim her life, Tanya began gathering evidence for a divorce. The process was arduous and painful, but Jared was unwilling to let go. He fought to maintain control over her, using any means necessary to keep her tethered to him. His obsession persisted even after their divorce, and Tanya's attempts to move on were met with relentless interference from Jared. Despite claiming to have accepted their separation, he couldn't bear the thought of Tanya being with someone else. Jared's behavior intensified when Tanya began dating another man. He tried to convince himself that he had moved on, but his actions told a different story. He stalked her, monitored her every move, and made threats to keep her in line. In stark contrast, Tanya's new partner, Justin Hilbert, led a quiet, stable life. Born in 1988 in Riverside, California, Justin found stability in a full-time job maintaining industrial equipment after a series of side gigs. He was calm, reserved, and conflict-averse, seeking to build a simple, steady life. In early 2015, he met Tanya, who was still grappling with the aftermath of her tumultuous marriage. Their connection was natural, and Justin offered support without rushing things. Over time, their bond deepened, and they became a couple. When Tanya discovered she was pregnant, their relationship had solidified. Justin embraced the news with calm resolve, and they settled into a life together, preparing for the arrival of their child. In early 2016, their son Logan was born, and Justin eagerly embraced fatherhood, learning to care for his son through swaddling, bottle feeding, and late-night feedings. Meanwhile, Bailey Sharp, the youngest character in this narrative, was born in the early 1990s in Seattle. Coming from a law enforcement family, she had a bright future ahead of her. However, everything changed in her teens when she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and lupus. Chronic pain, medical restrictions, and mental health struggles led her down a difficult path, resulting in substance abuse issues. After several stints in rehab and periods of recovery, Bailey sought a fresh start in California. By 2015, she had few social ties left, and her family relationships had deteriorated. In California, she faced unstable housing and difficulty finding steady work. It was during this vulnerable time that she met Jared Bischoff. His involvement in her life was not romantic. Rather, he sought to exert dominance and control over her vulnerability. On June 20th, 2016, everything changed. It was an ordinary day in Riverside, California. Tanya, Justin, and their 6-month-old son, Logan, spent the day together, discussing their weekly plans and enjoying family time. However, things took an unexpected turn when Tanya received a strange message from Bailey Sharp, accusing Justin of living a double life and being dishonest. Tanya showed Justin the message, and he dismissed it as false, assuring her that someone was trying to drive a wedge between them. Calm yet firm, Justin reassured Tanya of his love and promised to uncover the truth behind the accusation. Later that evening, Justin left the house for what Tanya thought were errands. Hours passed without his return, and when she tried to call and text him, there was no response. By midnight, his phone was off and worry set in. Tanya stayed up, hoping to hear from him, but as the night wore on, she was left in the dark, uncertain of his whereabouts. On the morning of June 21, 2016, Tanya received a chilling text from Justin's phone, short, impersonal, and out of character. "Don't wait. It's over." Instinctively, she sensed something was terribly wrong. She reached out to Justin's mother and sister, but no one knew where he was. It became evident that Justin was missing. Around the same time, Riverside County authorities received a report from a motorcyclist who spotted a body lying face up on a rural road near Lake Matthews. The man was Justin, confirmed by the medical examiner to have died from a gunshot to the head, with knife wounds preceding the fatal shot. Evidence indicated that Justin had been attacked elsewhere before being discarded in that location. Investigators sprang into action. Based on the condition of the body, they believed the crime had occurred the night before. After confirming Justin's identity, officers visited the home he shared with Tanya. She confirmed that he had left around 9 p.m. the previous night and never returned. His dark blue sedan was also missing and was quickly entered into the National Missing Vehicle database. As investigators processed the scene, they noted that several of Justin's personal items were missing, including his phone, work badge, and wallet, items he never left without. This suggested someone had deliberately tried to erase any trace of him. However, tiny fibers and microparticles on Justin's body pointed to a different location. Subsequent investigations confirmed that Justin had been transported and discarded after his death. Interviews with Justin's friends and co-workers yielded no concrete leads. No one was aware of any conflicts or threats against him. All who knew him described him as calm and non-confrontational, with no debts or legal issues. There was no apparent motive for his murder. The case took a turn when investigators examined Tanya's recent messages. One name stood out: Bailey Sharp. Bailey had contacted Tanya just before Justin's disappearance, and a record search revealed that Bailey had no fixed address, a criminal history related to illegal substances, and a history of instability. This led authorities to focus on her as a primary suspect. They traced Bailey's movements and found she had no official job, no insurance, no vehicle, and no driver's license. The only connection they had was the phone number she used to contact Tanya. A request to the phone carrier revealed that the SIM card was registered under someone else's name and used sporadically. Further investigation into the phone number revealed frequent connections to Jared Bischoff, Tanya's ex-husband. Although this didn't provide concrete evidence of collaboration between Bailey and Jared, it raised suspicions. As the investigation continued, authorities began tracking Bailey's associates. Social workers reported seeing her in parking lots and bars with various men, but the identities of these individuals remained unknown. The focus shifted to digital records. A check of the IP address Bailey used to log into her social media accounts revealed that the same device and IP address had been used to access an account associated with Jared Bischoff. The connection between Bailey and Jared became increasingly clear, though the exact nature of their relationship was still uncertain. Investigators couldn't rule out the possibility that Jared was unaware of the messages sent from Bailey's phone, but everything pointed to a coordinated effort. They decided to continue surveillance on Bailey and Jared, tracking their movements without alerting the suspects. It wasn't until later that investigators discovered the most chilling detail. The text Tanya received from Justin's phone that morning was not sent by Justin at all. By that time, Justin had already been killed, and his phone was in Bailey's possession. She had deliberately sent the message, intending to buy time and prevent Tanya from contacting authorities too soon. Once law enforcement began actively searching for Bailey Sharp, they quickly realized her whereabouts were elusive. Her phone was turned off, and there was no activity on her social media or messaging accounts. The only lead came from surveillance footage at a pharmacy. On the evening of June 22nd, roughly 24 hours after Justin's body was discovered, Bailey was caught on camera. Alone, wearing a medical mask and a hooded sweatshirt, she purchased pain relievers and bottled water. When she paid at the counter, she presented an ID that did not match her own name. The clerk couldn't recall many details, but the cameras captured everything. After that, Bailey vanished again. Consequently, Bailey was officially declared a wanted person. An alert was quickly disseminated across local law enforcement agencies, and her photo, known aliases, descriptions, and connections were entered into the system. As investigators dug deeper, they noticed a pattern. In the weeks leading up to Justin's death, Bailey had been spotted several times in southern Riverside, particularly near a remote residential complex. Surveillance footage in the area showed her vehicle, followed by another car registered under a man's name. At this point, authorities had yet to release the name, but it was becoming increasingly clear that either Bailey was aware that law enforcement was searching for her, or someone was helping her stay hidden. A bigger question loomed: if Bailey was merely a pawn in this case, who was truly orchestrating the scheme? The answer began to take shape on the morning of June 24th, when the Department of Motor Vehicles responded to an inquiry about a second vehicle frequently seen near Bailey. This car was registered to none other than Jared Bischoff, Tanya's ex-husband. Until that moment, police had no reason to believe Jared was involved in Justin's disappearance. But now, with his vehicle appearing near the main suspect, Bailey, the investigation took a sharp turn. After his divorce from Tanya, Jared had briefly stayed with relatives before moving out. According to Tanya's close friends, communication between them had ceased after several arguments, controlling behavior, and emotional tension. Tanya believed Jared was dangerous, though no official police reports had been filed against him. Investigators learned that Tanya had once discussed installing a security system out of fear of her ex-husband. After their split, Jared seemed to vanish from the radar. No one knew exactly where he was living or who he was spending time with, until Bailey re-entered the picture. Investigators learned that Bailey had been frequenting southern Riverside for several weeks before Justin's death. Surveillance footage showed her with a man whose face was partially visible, but bore a striking resemblance to Jared. The connection was soon confirmed. With this new information, police secured a warrant to search an apartment Jared appeared to be using based on mobile activity. The apartment was rented under a false name. Inside, the scene was chaotic: leftover food, Bailey's clothing, a backpack, and a knife wrapped in a t-shirt. Forensic tests later revealed that the blade contained traces of blood confirmed to belong to Justin Hilbert. However, Jared was no longer there. Witnesses reported seeing him shortly before the incident, sometimes alone, and sometimes with a woman resembling Bailey. After that, both Jared and Bailey vanished. With warrants now issued for both suspects, the investigation expanded to include banks, phone carriers, and traffic cameras. A bartender named Ricky remembered Bailey clearly. She had been there with a man who was tall, with an upright posture and quiet demeanor. At the time, he hadn't known the man's name, but when shown a photo of Jared, Ricky immediately recognized him. He recalled overhearing parts of their conversation, including phrases like, "She ruined everything," and "He won't be around much longer." This provided a potential motive. Jared wanted Justin out of the picture to regain control over Tanya. It seemed that the original target may have been Tanya, but Justin's involvement had set the entire plan in motion. Using Bailey, Jared orchestrated a setup. She sent Tanya misleading messages accusing Justin of infidelity, hoping to sow doubt and create conflict. The goal was to drive a wedge between them, possibly pushing Justin away from Tanya. On the evening of June 20th, Justin left the house after receiving those messages from Bailey, lured into a confrontation with someone he thought he could trust, unaware he was walking straight into a trap. Tragically, no one would see him alive again. Days later, investigators discovered Justin's car, a dark blue sedan, abandoned on a remote roadside. Inside were bloodstains on the seat and a partial fingerprint on the exterior, further evidence that something terrible had occurred. Each new discovery raised more questions. The investigation took a crucial turn when authorities linked a sub-analysis to Danny Serrano, a man with prior convictions for assault and theft. At the time, Danny was already in custody on an unrelated charge. However, it was confirmed that during Justin's disappearance, Danny had still been free. Investigators interviewed him while he was in the detention center, but his statements were inconsistent. He denied involvement, though his responses raised suspicions. The police then brought Danny's photo to bartender Ricky, who had previously seen Bailey Sharp at a bar. When Ricky saw Danny's image, he immediately recognized him. Ricky recalled seeing Bailey with another man who was nervous and edgy, Danny. He remembered that Danny hadn't been drinking much, had changed clothes in the restroom, and had thrown something in the trash. Before leaving, Danny reportedly told Ricky, "You didn't see anything. That's why you're still breathing." At the time, Ricky had dismissed the comment as a joke, but in hindsight, he realized he had encountered someone directly tied to the case. Ricky's account added weight to investigators' suspicions that there was a third person involved. Justin's phone was discovered in a dumpster near where his car had been abandoned. Though damaged, forensic specialists managed to recover the call logs and text history. The texts confirmed that in the final hours of Justin's life, he received messages from Bailey's phone and a subsequent phone call that prompted him to leave home. This new evidence helped reconstruct the chain of events leading up to his murder. Meanwhile, a small motel in Arizona caught the attention of investigators. In early July, a man and woman matching the descriptions of Jared and Bailey had stayed there. The motel manager recalled that they had been quiet, paid in cash, and requested not to be disturbed. After their departure, the manager mentioned that the shower had been scrubbed thoroughly, but micro traces of blood were found in the drain. On July 23rd, in a remote desert area near an abandoned hangar, the body of a woman was discovered. The woman was later identified as Bailey Sharp. The cause of death was determined to be multiple stab wounds, but there were no belongings, ID, or phone found with her. Moreover, fingerprints belonging to Jared were discovered on a plastic bag near the dump site where Bailey's body was found. After their stay at the motel, it became clear that Bailey had been eliminated. Jared had ensured that there would be no loose ends to tie him to the crime. With mounting evidence against him, authorities were certain that Jared had removed a partner who might have turned on him, making him the sole suspect in both murders. On July 27th, a tip came in from a roadside diner in Arizona. A man resembling Jared had eaten alone, paid in cash, and left. Surveillance footage confirmed it was him. 3 days later, on July 30th in New Mexico, a patrol unit stopped a car with a broken tail light. The driver, visibly nervous and carrying fake identification, was later confirmed to be Jared Bischoff. He was arrested. When authorities searched his vehicle, they found only cash, forged documents, and a backpack with clothes. Jared remained calm and silent during questioning, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. Blood traces matching Bailey's were found in the motel, and the apartment linked to him contained a knife with Justin's blood on it. Forensic experts confirmed that the blood on the knife matched blood found in Justin's car, where the crime had occurred. Moreover, Jared's DNA was found on the steering wheel and driver's seat of the vehicle, confirming he had driven the car after the murder. The final breakthrough came with Danny Serrano's confession. During a second interview, fearing a life sentence, Danny agreed to cooperate. He revealed that Jared had been the one to use the knife and fire the fatal shot. Danny admitted he had helped restrain Justin and later helped dispose of the body. His story aligned with digital evidence, physical findings, and the established timeline. Investigators also discovered that some of the messages sent to Tanya from Bailey's phone had been written by a man. Forensic linguists confirmed that these texts had been crafted by Jared, confirming what the data had suggested all along. Bailey and Jared had acted in coordination, with Jared as the mastermind and direct perpetrator behind the crime. In the spring of 2017, the trial began. The charges included first-degree murder of Justin Hilbert, the death of Bailey Sharp, conspiracy, and destruction of evidence. The jury found Jared Bischoff guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 2 life terms without the possibility of parole, and his attorney declined to file an appeal. Initially, Jared had planned to target both Tanya and Justin, but according to Danny, the plan evolved. Jared allegedly stated that physical death was too quick for his ex-wife. He believed the real suffering would come from leaving her alive, forcing her to face a life without the person she loved. Jared wanted Tanya to endure the pain of raising their child while constantly reminded of the horrors that had unfolded. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.